Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Grey Duck Unfeathered podcast. I am Grey Duck partner Chad Greenway, along with my partner Ryan Kulka. Ryan, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. A little different approach today. As you can tell, we're on a Zoom call, which is exciting. For one main reason why is because we get to introduce the guy who's going to be on today. The best guest we've had so far, because this is the first guest we've ever had beyond our partners. It is Kyle Rudolph. We're fired up to have Kyle on the show today, and just to get to talk about his career, things he accomplished, obviously talk about what he's doing now, and most importantly, and why is it pertinent to Grey Duck Vodka, is because he was the man who did and played Grey Duck, 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 Grey Duck in the end zone in Soldier Field. Get to talk to him about that, the genesis of the idea, where it came, and how important it came to us. So we're so excited to have Kyle on.
Yeah, really excited to talk to Kyle. I mean, he has a lot of different experiences. Playing in the NFL is just a crazy different life than most of us are used to experiencing. But then we want to talk to Kyle about, his business efforts and his philanthropy and, the transition from football to retirement and what he's up to now. And now he's in business and philanthropy. And I'm sure there's a ton of challenges that go along with that, just like we experience every day and in running our own business too. So
Yeah, but
super.
I don't want to build his ego up too much. I played with Kyle for a bunch of years, one of my best friends. So I got to make sure I still keep him in line. But can't wait to have Kyle on. And we have our guest, Kyle Rudolph, episode 3, Kyle, of the Grey Duck Unfeathered podcast. We are so fired up to have you on for several reasons, mostly just because I haven't got to chop it up with you for so long because you're running around like crazy. I'm running around like crazy, raising kids, doing all the stuff. But it is so good to see you, even though it's virtually and via Zoom. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it for having me. I'm a little disappointed it took 3 episodes for me to make the Grey Duck podcast, but no, super fired up to reconnect with you guys and spend some time.
Yeah, as mentioned, Ryan Kulka, Grey Duck partner as well. We're on, and maybe Kyle, just start with kind of where are you, and what are you doing, and why are we zooming this instead of in person?
Yeah, this is definitely not the decor of my living room. So I'm out in Hawaii in Kona on the Big Island, out here with Ace Hardware. So every year, Ace Hardware has the Ace Shootout, where they bring all of their vendors from across the country, a bunch of retailers, and we all get together for an incredible cause in Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Nice.
So last year, I think they raised over $3 million for Children's Miracle Network hospitals through this one event. So it's a ton of fun. Obviously, you get to come out here and be in paradise for a week, play some golf, and then on the last day, we do a skills challenge that airs on Golf Channel in
Oh, fun.
April, I believe. So trying not to embarrass myself. We played yesterday, we played today, and then we got the big skills challenge on Thursday.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, that's one of the things I'm most proud of you for, obviously, is the way you've given back to our community here in Minnesota, but really every place you've gone, you've touched kids, touched families in a great way. And super proud of you as a friend, especially as like, your older brother type of mentality in the locker room and getting so close to you when we played and just being great friends. It's so fun to see what you've done and all the things you've accomplished. It's amazing. So I do a little research because I'm like going back. I'm like, okay, yeah, what year did Kyle get drafted again? How many years did he play? Because as you know, like so many teammates and so many buddies. So 12-year NFL career, obviously incredible. I was shocked that it only said 2 Pro Bowls because you had such a legendary career, so many touchdowns scored, 10 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings. One mistake in New York we're not going to talk about, and then maybe Tampa was pretty fun. I'm just joking. But an incredible career. And I get to talk first about this, like when you came into the league and just kind of the energy you brought, clearly the talent, the size, just the intangibles you brought as just an athlete were impressive. But I thought the most important part and the best part about you was just your approach and your mentality. Always the hardest worker, always the first guy there, always catching extra balls, always putting the work in just to kind of have your mind right and what it's going to take to be great on game day. Tell us a little bit about your background, kind of where you came from, what made you think how you think. And I always think it's funny because you thought like a blue collar 2-star, but you were a 5-star recruit. And I think that's really interesting part of your story.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, childhood, the way I was raised by 2 parents that worked extremely hard to provide for myself, my younger brother, my younger sister. But then also just surrounding myself with other individuals who you have to keep up with. And I did it throughout my high school career. My closest buddies in high school were the guys that I ran with in sports, and we all had similar goals and visions of what we wanted our lives to be like. And certainly at that point in my life, it helped me stay out of trouble and maybe not get into things that a lot of high school boys get into. And then college, same way. I have my best friends from college are the four guys that I lived with, and we had this common goal of wanting to win while we were at Notre Dame, and then ultimately have the opportunity to play in the National Football League. Then get drafted in 2011. Extremely weird draft year, lockout year, no off season.
Right.
They basically lifted the lockout for us to have a 3-day draft. And then on Sunday after the draft, it was right back into the lockout. And so, I come to Minnesota, even though we weren't having OTAs or mini camp, because I had never been to Minnesota before, had to figure out where I was going to live. But then I wanted to, get around guys like yourself. And I'll never forget coming to Edina High School and working out with you and Hutch and Ben Lieber and Heath Farwell and Jim Kleinsaucer. And to me, it was just those were the guys that I had to be around, that I had to watch, understand their approach, both personally and professionally. And so seeing the way that you guys worked, at that point, guys all had been to Pro Bowls and established yourselves as veteran players in this league. And so, that was kind of always my mentality. And, I always knew that, hard work beat talent when talent didn't work hard. And so, although I was very blessed to have talent.
Nice to have both, though. Nice to have both.
Yeah. Thank you. Although blessed to have talent, I just wouldn't be able to live with myself if dreams didn't come true, goals wouldn't come to fruition if it was simply for a lack of work, and certainly couldn't let anyone else work harder. Then 10 great years in Minnesota. It's amazing how fast those 10 years go. In the blink of an eye, you go from the young kid who, is trying to find his way to the old guy that everybody's looking up to, and then asking for advice. And it's really cool to understand how your role changes throughout your NFL career. It happens to everybody that's fortunate enough to play a long time. And so, Minnesota was a great place. Obviously an incredible organization, one that, we still view very fondly and always root for. And then, for me, I wouldn't change my experience for anything. Having the opportunity to go to New York for a year, playing in a massive market like New York, playing for a historical franchise like the Giants, certainly wins and losses. Obviously, you want to win more games. And then for me, going to Tampa, same thing. Like from a football standpoint, neither one of those stops were worthwhile, but they both have things, and they both have positives that come from it. And, the Tampa stop, ultimately, we've now made home there, and we have an incredible community of friends that just honestly, we couldn't imagine doing life without. And so everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
Each stop along the way had highs and lows. As this playing as long as you did in the NFL, the highs are high and the lows are low. And, it's the people that you do it with and the people that you're around that truly make it worth it.
Well, yeah, it's 5 degrees here, Kyle, in Minnesota, and this is the high for the week. So that Tampa stop served you really, really well.
So, Kyle, I have a question kind of surrounding the business of football, right? Because, I grew up, I'm a hockey guy, but, I was on our varsity football team, scout offense, getting pummeled by future D1 and pro athletes. But, you grow up, you're playing football. It's a fun game. You're trying to be the best you can be. You go to Notre Dame, you get recruited, you go to Notre Dame, you make it to the NFL, and now football becomes kind of a business, right? At a certain point. And just from a Rube fan perspective, I always wonder where, and most importantly, how do you learn how to treat your career like a profession, and the money and the trades, and how do you manage all that when football is just the fun thing you did growing up?
Yeah, I think for me, it probably happened earlier, not the money part, because we didn't have NIL when I was 15, 16 years old like they do now. But the business part of it, I'll never forget the football recruiting process, even basketball. My freshman and sophomore year basketball, I thought was going to be what I played in college. So as a freshman and sophomore in high school, I was, doing all the basketball recruiting. I played varsity at my high school, did the whole AAU circuit. And then I actually went to Europe when I was 16 years old and got offered a pro contract from like the top pro league in Italy to stay there. And I had to email my parents, because I didn't have a cell phone at the time, and tell my mom and dad that, they were going to offer me more money than either of my parents had ever seen to stay here and play basketball as a 16-year-old. Wow. So for me, the combination of that experience and being in Europe by myself and, just treating it like a business, like this is what I do, combined with my football recruiting experience where I was fortunate to have a neighbor back home in Cincinnati. He played for the University of Illinois back in the day with Jeff George and some of their good Illinois teams. And I'll never forget, he sat me down as a 16-year-old kid, and he was like, my recruiting process from Lawrenceburg, Indiana, like going to Illinois was as good as it got. Like that was the mountaintop for me. And that's all I really envisioned and dreamed of. And you need to approach this with, where do I go to give myself the best chance to play in the National Football League? He's like, you're a National Football League player. You're not a college football player. So, yes, I always believed that ultimately I could achieve that goal. And that was always a dream of mine. But really at that point, as a 16-year-old, both on the basketball court and the football field, having those experiences started to frame my mindset as, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I need to approach it in that manner. And it kind of shaped every decision that I made.
Yeah, I think it's funny because for me, like, it didn't slap me in the face until I got drafted. And my first press conference after I got drafted, the first part was, you could tell I played linebacker, not quarterback, because they flew me from commercial from Sioux Falls to Minneapolis, not charter. They didn't send me the big boy jet. If I'd played quarterback, maybe tight end, I got the big boy jet.
I flew commercial too.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, neither one of us the quarterbacks. Clearly, what was my first press conference and the questions you get, because now the expectation is for you to be good. For me, I was always the underdog and kind of had that mentality. Small town, nobody recruited me. You go to Iowa, kind of fly under the radar. And all of a sudden you go to the NFL. It's like, wait a second, like you don't get to be the underdog anymore. Like we're paying you a lot of money to be good. Like you better be good. Like how fast can you turn this defense around? Like how soon can we get some wins? Like how big of an impact are you going to make? That type of mentality kind of really set me back. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm like, do I need to approach this differently now, or do I just got to go be myself? And I think you said it best. It turns out like you just got to be yourself, whether you're a 5-star coming out of high school playing, hoops or football, like making that decision, go to Notre Dame. Like it really comes down to, when you go in the business of the NFL, is you got to show up, you got to work, you got to be a good person. And for the most part, if you do those things are going to probably work out. And we all know that not everybody's like that in the league. And there's certainly some crazy stories and some interesting people. But for the most part, a lot of us that made it are the same mentality, maybe just had different backgrounds. So let's make the connection. So why are you on the Grey Duck Unfeathered podcast other than being my friend and teammate? So obviously the genesis of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits really stemmed from your touchdown celebration and, the NFL loosening these celebration rules, allowing people to kind of, or teammates and players to sort of, put together a skit, so to speak, in the end zone, and in Soldier Field. Sure enough, you were the guy in 2017 that does. You guys are on a crazy run, a great season, and tell us a little bit about that situation. Lay it out for us, and then we can kind of close the gaps on how Grey Duck came from that. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that duck goose / Grey Duck conversation you had to have that week.
Yeah, 2017 was a great year. You mentioned at that point the NFL had started to loosen some of the celebration rules, and back in the day, early in my career, throughout your career, group celebrations weren't allowed. If you did something like that, it was a 15-yard penalty for a group celebration, and so throughout 2017, it was just kind of one of those magical years. We had a great group in the locker room. we on offense had a bunch of guys that could go out and score points and make big plays. And, we wanted to have fun while we were doing that. And so, each and every week we kind of had different, call them skits or celebrations planned. Some of the other
can't
good
dance.
ones.
I knew you wouldn't do a
No,
dance. I know
no.
you
Well,
can't dance.
I did the ice auger in Houston back in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day.
Oh, yeah. That was
kind
a
of the
great.
only,
That was a good one. I will give you credit for that one. That was a good one.
that was like one of my only dances I ever did,
Yeah.
but I definitely can't dance. So,
Yeah.
who suggested it, how we came up with it, I don't remember, but I remember the course of the game. It kind of was ugly early, close game going into halftime. Jerick McKinnon kind of breaks it open with a massive touchdown run. And then ultimately, I scored. Case scrambled around a little bit, found me in the end zone. And that's, we busted out for me, duck, duck, goose. And for everyone on our team, with the exception of Adam, because obviously Adam grew up in Minnesota. But apparently Adam didn't have the balls to tell any of us what duck, duck, gray duck was, because we all were just calling it duck, duck, goose. And so score the touchdown, do the celebration, ton of fun. We run to the sideline, don't really think anything of it.
Right.
After the game, we get the huge win on the road, which, as you know, us winning in Chicago was few and far between, no matter what the records were. If they were
They do
good,
it now all the time. I don't know how they do it over there, man. We could never get it done.
Could never get it done. And we knew that it was a big place for us to go get a win. I think it was Monday Night Football. And so get in the locker room, and we have all of our local Minnesota beat writers that are in the locker room. And there's some national media as well, because it was a Monday Night Football game. But they start asking about the celebration. And I'm like, we duck, duck, goose. Obviously we played all the time as kids. And one of the local Minnesota writers asked me about duck, duck, gray duck. And I'm like, what's duck, duck, gray duck? And then that's when Adam first started chiming in the locker room. The locker room at Soldier Field, defense is on one side, offense on the other. It's not very big. It's a rectangle shape. So, all of a sudden he starts chiming into the interviews like, duck, duck, gray duck. Like, we played duck, duck, gray duck as kids in Minnesota. Who knew that it was going to spark this whole statewide news story of duck, duck, goose, duck, duck, gray duck. Obviously something that was super cool and fun at the time, kind of goes along with team success and offensive success. You can't do duck, duck, goose, duck, duck, gray duck in the end zone when you're 2-10. If you're 2-10 and you do it, nobody cares. And you look like a jackass, doing stuff like that at 2-10 when you score a touchdown. So just kind of a lot of things coming together that year. And this celebration was one. I remember, all of a sudden t-shirts started showing up at the locker room. People were sending t-shirts. It was fun.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, you get the wrong buddies. I get the wrong buddies, and they're all sitting at a bar watching that game, watching you do the celebration, and then the response, the national response, and then the state media's response of this is how we do it. This is our baby. We're Minnesotans. We're going to behind this and support it. And God bless it, I love it, because I grew up playing duck, duck, goose, and I own, and one of the partners of Grey Duck Spirits, duck, duck, gray duck. So it's funny how you say that. But Mark, Jerry, Ryan all get connected. We create this Grey Duck Spirits brand around this idea of, this is very Minnesota. This is Grey Duck embodies Minnesota. Minnesotans are proud of it. They're proud that it's different. They're proud that it's unique. And it's a lot of fun. And it's just funny. They wanted you. The partners at Grey Duck, before they met me, were like, man, Kyle, we got to have Kyle come out here. We're going to start this brand. Let's make it a vodka brand. Here we go. We don't know anything about the business. Let's go start a brand. We don't know how to make alcohol. Don't know who to call. So they always call us, put this business model together. They want to get a hold of you. But turns out you can't do that because you're playing actively in the league. You can't support.
Unfortunately, the NFL has rules. Fortunately for you.
Unfortunately for me. But the other part that's funny is all you see is liquor and beer commercials when you watch the entire NFL game. But NFL players, you don't get to partake in that. So benefit of me is I get the phone call and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this and be the head and be a partner in Grey Duck Spirits? And at first I was like, no, absolutely not. I was a year and a half out of football, just retired. trying to figure out what direction I was going to go, process you went through as well as you retired. Like, it's kind of those couple of years of like, okay, what's going to happen? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to put my foot down? And we had decided we're going to stay in Minnesota. So I said no at first. And secondly, I'm like, you know what? Let's try something. Let's try to build a brand, something from scratch that you know nothing about. And just like you, I know you because of how you think and what you're doing now is you love a challenge. You love to try to create something from nothing and use your network and use your folks. And it's been so fun. Part of this podcast is really about teaching people small business things because we didn't know anything. And this reality is like, if you think you know it all, you know nothing. And if you think you know it all, you're going to go in and learn a lot. And we've had so many failures, so much success to get to the point where we've been like, okay, we're 9 years in this thing now. Can't believe we made it this far and we're doing so well. And that's a lot of fun. But I think the genesis of the story is why the brand is good, is because Minnesotans care so much about Grey Duck and like what makes them who they are. The fact that it's 5 degrees and we think it's a warm up. It's just, you have to live in it, you have to embody it. Because people in Florida, you live in Tampa that never lived in the north, some people have never seen snow before. Like, it was -40 like 3 days ago with the wind chill. It's just a different vibe. So cool story, great start to the company, and just really cool idea and concept on why we got to where we are and why the heck you are on this podcast right now. But as we run out of time, I want to hear about what you're doing now. I see you flying around the country. I don't get to ever see you in person. I haven't hugged you in years. Sad. Your kids are growing up and I haven't seen them. They don't even know about Uncle Chad, and that's making me sad.
Uncle Chad the legend. They know about Uncle Chad.
Yeah, and then my kids that you grew up with who adore you, all of a sudden are 18 and 15 and going to be in college soon at one of your favorite schools, at least to play basketball.
Yeah.
So crazy how life comes and goes and it's moving so fast. But most importantly, I want to give you a chance to talk about some of the things you're doing, what's important to you right now, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, no, it's funny, everything that you guys talk about in small business and, really just diving into it head first. It's all we know as athletes. I'll work harder than everybody else. We were talking about it earlier on the episode. I might not know anything. I certainly don't know everything, but I'll figure it out. I'll just outwork people. I'll leverage network resources, mentors, all the things that you do to become a Pro Bowl caliber player in the NFL. And so, for me, throughout the course of the end of my career in that transition in 2021, I started All True with 3 other guys in the Twin Cities, one of which Jason Zucker, who was playing for the Wild, obviously now in Buffalo with the Sabres. And, what we wanted to create was an opportunity for, other guys in the locker room. You think about yourself, me, how many Vikings fans supported, foundations, initiatives, causes that we wanted to raise money for. And ultimately coming out of the pandemic in 2020, I'm like, we didn't have the golf tournaments that we usually host. We didn't have the celebrity waiter night that we love going to that you have every year. We didn't have the Lake Bash at Fletcher's. It's like all those things didn't happen. So what's an alternative way that we as athletes, as celebrities can leverage that fandom and engage our fans to allow them to support incredible causes as well? Also providing the chance to win these once in a lifetime experiences, these things, that the packages that we put in the live auctions at the galas or at the dinners that most fans are priced out of. How do we bring that opportunity to them? And so we created All True with this vision of a win-win, raising, dollars that ordinarily wouldn't go to charity. And then also providing these once in a lifetime experiences to the diehard fans that, I might not have $10,000 to buy it in an auction, but I have $10 to donate. And if I can find 10,000 Vikings fans to donate $10, guess what? You just raised $100,000 for something that ordinarily, might only raise 5, 10, 15, 20 grand. So started that in 2021. I kind of did it while I was playing. it's the way God works. Ultimately, I wasn't playing a whole lot, so I had a ton of time to start to
Right.
understand and learn business.
Yeah.
Sitting in meetings instead of being on my iPad studying film, I was able to, start to learn this stuff.
Yep.
And the Giants and the Bucks were paying me. I didn't
Yeah.
have to
That's
have All
that's
True
nice.
pay me any money because we weren't making any at the time.
Right. Right.
So I think, ultimately it really, for me and my transition, it's what pulled me out of football. I was far more excited in 2023 about All True and the future of All True and how we could grow this small business that's ultimately making a huge difference, as opposed to making another run and trying to win a ring and moving my family for the fourth time in 4 years. So
Right.
not a lot of guys have the opportunity to transition and be pulled out of the game of football. Football is our identity, it's our livelihood, it's our life for so long that oftentimes we retire and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? So much like you, I had something that allowed me to just, dive in head first, try to figure it out, try to learn, and it hasn't stopped in the last 3 years. So it's a ton of fun. That's all professionally. Personally, obviously, we've made home in Tampa, Florida, where we made our last stop. We're like the inverse of snowbirds. So we get back up north. We go to Michigan, where Jordan's family is. We come to Minnesota for an extended period of time. Every summer, we make it a priority to get back to Minnesota and spend as much time there as we can. It's just, it's the reason why people love living in Minnesota. It's like,
Right.
yeah, well, summer's great. So now we get to enjoy summer as well, and we don't have to bear the pain of the minus 45 in the winter. But yeah, kids are all good. The twins are 9, and I think they're the tallest gymnast. I always laugh. I'm like, girls, like, this is great that you love gymnastics, but I think you and Simone Biles might be the same height right
Yeah.
now, and you're 9.
I've
So
seen, I've seen that.
there may be a means to an end there, but ultimately, for your child, for your children, all you want is for them to find something that they love and they work their ass off at, and that's what they're doing right now. The boys are playing hockey and baseball. Henry's begging me to start playing football.
Love it.
So it'll be a ton of fun. It just, as a dad, there's nothing better than watching your kids go out there and work hard and it sounds wild saying, but fail.
Yeah.
And then seeing how they respond to failure and how they respond to losses. And it's just, to me, like, I've never kind of imagined this phase of life. I never really thought past what, chasing
Right.
that dream of making it to the NFL would be like. And, it's a ton of fun. So blessed, so fortunate. And, just again, really, really enjoy the time. It was awesome to get to catch up. It's been a ton of fun following the girls from
Oh,
afar.
yeah.
Obviously, we'll have matters down in Lexington. We'll definitely have to get to some games with my family's history at Kentucky, and
Yep.
having Madden there will be awesome.
Yeah, it's you're in for these next 10 to 15 years, gonna be chaos for you guys. As I we're right in the thick of it now, and you enjoy it. Buckle up because it's crazy and it's chaotic and it's, but man, is it fun. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I always think that football gave me the most important asset, which is time with my kids, to raise my kids, able to make money and do the thing I love, but then also more importantly, be able to have kids young. And now I'm able to be a part and coach and help and all the things you're starting to do now that is going to be, it's going to be your embodiment. You're going to love it. Um, so almost 500 receptions, 50 touchdowns, only 2 Pro Bowls, which is ridiculous. We can easily say one of the greatest tight ends in Vikings history, and I think arguably one of the best tight ends in NFL history. Uh, Great friend, great human being. Kyle Rudolph, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for catching up. Love seeing you. You look great. You look a little skinny.
Trying to
So am
stay
I.
there. It's
So am
hard
I.
in
But
Hawaii. There's a lot of good food out here.
yeah, I can imagine. But
Well, I
hey,
wanna,
thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate you and giving us some time today.
Yeah, Chad, Ryan, thank you guys. Best of luck with everything, and keep grinding.
yeah. And I want to say
Right
too,
on.
guys, it is cool to take a back seat to this reunion for you guys. And I want to tell everybody, go check out All True, because I was checking it out online, and like Kyle mentioned, they're once in a lifetime experiences there that go to great causes, but they are mind-blowing experiences according to me, and so much variety, whether you're a pro wrestling fan or a pro football fan, or you're into comedy or whatever it is, tons of variety. And dude, I think it's such a cool, unique platform. I've never seen anything like it. So everyone go check out All True.
Yeah.
Get
Thanks,
involved.
Ryan. Yeah, we have our big one right now. It's got one more day. I think it ends tomorrow at midnight Pacific time. So Wednesday night Pacific time. 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, 2 pregame field passes. So get on the field at the Super Bowl. Like, it blew my mind when we had that. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people have the opportunity to do tickets to the game, but to get on the field, there's a lot of big corporate partners that aren't down on the field for the Super Bowl.
That is wild. Well, cool, man. Keep up the great stuff. Great seeing you. Great having you on. And there you have it. Episode 3 of the Great Unfeathered podcast was our great friend Kyle Rudolph. So thanks for joining. Make sure to follow, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. See you, Kyle.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.